The return, after 3,000 years, the stars stretched endlessly above the cold, barren surface of Earth. For 3,000 years, humanity had been gone exiled to distant corners of the galaxy, forced to flee after a war they couldn't win. The people of Earth, once proud and powerful, had been cast away by an alien race, their home planet taken over and their colonies destroyed. What was left was only a memory of the Earth they had lost. And for all these centuries, humanity had been waiting for the moment when they could return. And now that moment had arrived. The human fleet, an armada of ships brimming with soldiers, scientists and civilians, pierced through the cold void of space. There was no turning back. Earth's fate rested in their hands. As the fleet moved closer, the once vibrant blue and green world now looked like nothing more than a desolate, broken shell. The alien invaders had transformed Earth, its cities reduced to ruins, its skies now dark with their strange, otherworldly structures. What had once been a thriving planet was now a silent graveyard. Jack Miller, a seasoned war commander, stood at the front of the lead ship. His heart raced as he stared out of the viewport, watching the remnants of their once proud world come into view. The weight of history pressed heavily on his shoulders. For years, he had heard stories of Earth's fall, of how the invaders had come and wiped humanity from the planet's surface, leaving only ruins and ashes behind. But nothing could prepare him for the sight before him. "Captain, we're approaching the atmosphere," Sarah, his communications officer, called out from behind him. She glanced at her monitor, her face tense. "We're getting some unusual readings. It's like the atmosphere has changed." Jack frowned. "What do you mean?" "Radiation levels are higher than expected," Sarah replied. "There's something ... off. Almost like the Earth itself is being controlled." Jack's brow furrowed. The Earth he had fought for in his mind was now alien to him. How had it come to this? Who had done this? And most importantly, why? "Keep me updated," Jack ordered. He could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. His eyes scanned the vast horizon of Earth, his mind flooded with questions. His thoughts were interrupted by a voice in his ear. "Captain Miller, we're receiving a transmission from Earth's defense systems," Kara, the ship's weapons officer, said. "It's automated, ... but it's still active." Jack's eyes narrowed. Earth's defense systems should have been long gone decommissioned when humanity had fled. He nodded and moved quickly to the communications panel. "Play it, Jack." SAIDA. Harsh static filled the speakers. Then a voice gravelly and distorted came through. "This is Earth Defense Command. If you are receiving this message, know that you have returned to a planet now lost to the invaders. Earth's defenses have been compromised. The enemy still controls the surface. Humanity's return will not be welcomed. Prepare yourselves for resistance." The message cut off abruptly, the speakers falling silent. Jack stared at the screen, the weight of the words sinking in. The invaders hadn't just taken Earth, they had transformed it into a fortress, a place where humanity would no longer be able to return as conquerors, but as outcasts, fighting for their survival. "We're not just reclaiming Earth, we're going to have to fight for it," Jack muttered under his breath. "Captain," Sarah said, her voice tight with emotion, "I'm getting another signal. This one's from a human colony, one of the last surviving colonies before we were forced into exile." Jack's heart skipped a beat. A surviving colony? It was impossible. He had thought that after all this time, humanity was lost to the stars. "Put it through," he ordered. The screen flickered, and then stabilized, showing an image of a man in his late 50s, his face worn and scarred from years of survival. His eyes were filled with years of grief, but there was something else, their hope. "Captain Miller, this is Commander Elias Winters of the Epsilon colony," the man said, his voice raspy but strong. "If you are receiving this, then you have returned. You've come back to Earth, and we've waited for this moment for centuries. But I have to warn you, don't expect a warm welcome. The invaders are not just holding Earth. They are preparing to wipe humanity out once and for all." Jack's heart sank. The threat was worse than they had imagined. Elias continued, "The invaders have spread across the surface, fortified every major city, and now they're preparing to launch a final assault on any remnants of humanity. But we've learned to fight back. We've been gathering resources, secretly rebuilding Earth's defenses, and we've found something, a weapon that could turn the tide. We'll be waiting for you, Captain. But don't waste time. The enemy is stronger than ever." The transmission flickered, and the image of Elias vanished. Jack stood in silence for a long moment. The fight for Earth wasn't over, it was just beginning. But now, humanity had a fighting chance. And he was going to lead them back to their planet, to their home. "Get ready, everyone," Jack said finally, turning to face his crew. "We've come back to Earth, not just to survive, but to take back what's ours. The battle for Earth has only just begun." The fight for survival. The Valor glided through Earth's shattered skies, its massive engines humming with an energy Jack hadn't felt in years. The human fleet followed in its wake, ready for a battle that would decide the fate of Earth. As the ships neared the surface, the once glorious cities of Earth came into view, now darkened and overtaken by alien structures. The landscape had changed, twisted into something unrecognizable. What was once humanity's proud home was now a fortress, fortified against any hope of reclaiming it. Jack stood at the front of the bridge, his eyes fixed on the planet below. The alien forces had done their job well. The cities had been turned into strongholds, each one a heavily guarded fortress. The Earth that Jack and his people had once called home was now the enemy's stronghold, and the fight to reclaim it would be unlike anything humanity had ever faced. "We're approaching the first wave of alien defenses," Sarah said, her voice steady but filled with concern. "We won't be able to make it to the surface without engaging their forces. The question is, do we risk it now, or do we try another approach?" John, standing beside Jack, glanced at him. "We don't have the luxury of time. We need to take the fight to them. We strike first and hit them hard. If we don't, they'll hit us harder." Jack nodded, his hands clenched around the console. "Let's show them what humanity can do." The Valor's weapons activated, its massive cannons charged and ready. The crew was silent, each member fully aware of the gravity of what they were about to do. The first few shots rang out, bright flashes lighting up the darkened sky. The alien defenses, massive structures built to protect the heart of Earth, flared under the intense barrage. But even as the blasts tore through their shields, the aliens retaliated. The air was filled with the sound of explosions, the Valar shaking with each incoming attack. The alien ships, sleek and deadly, were now closing in fast. The invasion had begun, and there was no turning back. "Brace for impact," John shouted as the ship veered to avoid a barrage of enemy fire. "Enemy ships incoming," Kara, the weapons officer, shouted. "We're being surrounded. Hold steady, all ships." Jack commanded, "Fire at will. Protect the Valar. We can't let them reach Earth's surface. The human fleet erupted in a coordinated barrage, firing all weapons at the alien ships. Despite their strength and advanced technology, the alien fleet faltered under the relentless human counterattack. One by one, their ships were blasted from the sky, and for a brief moment, Jack felt a surge of hope. They were fighting back. They were winning, but it wasn't enough. More enemy ships continued to emerge from the shadows, a steady stream of reinforcements coming from the dark side of the planet. The alien fleet was far larger than they had anticipated, and it was only a matter of time before their numbers overran the human defenses. John turned to Jack. We need to break through to the surface. If we don't, the battle's lost. We can't keep them here much longer. Jack's mind raced. The ship they had uncovered, the ancient war machine from humanity's past, to be the key to winning this fight. But they couldn't just rely on firepower alone. They needed to outsmart the alien invaders, to use their own technology against them. Sarah, where's that map from the terminal? Jack asked, turning quickly to her. It's here, Sarah replied, pulling up a holographic display. It shows the alien strongholds across the planet, including the major defenses they've set up. But there's a hidden network of tunnels beneath the surface. We think it could lead to the heart of their operation. Jack studied the map, his eyes scanning the lines that marked the aliens' positions. We'll need to take control of their central base, the heart of their operations. It's the only way to disrupt their control over Earth. John looked at Jack. You're suggesting we infiltrate their stronghold? I am, Jack said. We'll take the Valor as close as we can, but then we'll send in a ground team. We'll take out the central command from the inside, hit them where they least expect it. John nodded. It's risky, but it's our best shot. We'll need all our soldiers on the ground for this. The crew moved quickly, preparing for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Jack could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him, but he knew they had no choice. They had to stop the aliens at their core before they could take Earth fully. As the Valar descended toward Earth, the alien fleet regrouped, their forces tightening around the remaining human ships. Jack's heart pounded as he stared down at the surface, where the remains of humanity's past lay in ruins, ready for ground assault. Kara said, her voice steady as she prepared the team for deployment. The door to the bridge slid open, and a squad of soldiers, led by Commander Elias Winters, filed in. Jack's eyes locked onto Elias, the leader of Earth's resistance. Elias, this is it, Jack said. We've found the heart of their operation. We need to get in, take control, and shut down their power. Elias nodded, his face set in grim determination. We'll do whatever it takes. With the Valar's massive guns firing from above, Jack's squad descended into the chaos of Earth's battlefield. The alien forces had no idea what was coming for them. Into the heart of darkness, the Valar rumbled as it pierced through the atmosphere, cutting a path through the skies above Earth's war-torn surface. Jack's team had already prepared for the mission, but nothing could truly prepare them for what lay below. As the ground team prepared to disembark, the vastness of their task loomed large. The alien stronghold was a towering complex built into the planet's crusted fortress of metal and fire, hidden beneath layers of rock, ice, and alien technology. The stakes had never been higher. Remember, the enemy knows we're coming, John said, his voice steady but serious. Once we hit the ground, there's no time to waste. We go in fast, hit their command center, and disable everything we can. The valor won't be able to cover us forever. Jack nodded. The rest of the crew stood beside him, Sarah, Elias, Kara, and a dozen battle-hardened soldiers. They all knew what was at stake. The success of this mission wasn't just about saving Earth. It was about preventing total annihilation. As the hatch to the transport bay opened, Jack could see the alien defenses spread out across the wasteland beneath them. There was no telling how many troops were stationed inside the complex, but Jack knew they couldn't afford to hesitate. They had one shot to destroy the heart of the alien power, and if they failed, the world would fall. The ground trembled beneath their boots as they made their way toward the entry point. Alien ships were still circling in the distance, their menacing presence looming in the sky. The metallic structure ahead looked almost alive, pulsating with energy, as though it were part of the alien landscape itself. There was no denying the sense of dread that filled the air. "On my signal," Jack said, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. "We breach the doors, clear the hallways, and take out their central command. We can't afford to get bogged down." The soldiers nodded in unison. The strategy was simple. Force their way into the heart of the alien complex, disable its systems, and break their grip on Earth. But Jack knew it wouldn't be easy. These invaders were no amateurs, and they had built this fortress for one purpose: to crush any resistance. As they neared the entrance, Jack could see alien guards patrolling the perimeter. They had armed weapons that hummed with an unnatural energy. The group stopped in their tracks, crouching low to avoid detection. "Sarah, can you disable their sentries?" Jack whispered. Sarah's eyes glinted with determination. She crouched behind a rock, pulling out a small device. "Give me a minute," she muttered, her fingers working with swift precision as she connected the device to the alien's communication system. The sentry's movements slowed, and with a soft hum, they dropped to the ground, knocked out cold by Sarah's well-timed hack. "Good job," Jack said, giving her a quick nod. "Now, let's move." The group stormed the complex's entrance, forcing the doors open with a heavy metal crash. Alien forces reacted immediately, opening fire on the intruders. The squad rushed in, returning fire with precision. Jack's heart raced as he led the charge, every step feeling like it could be their last. The alien soldiers were fast, but humanity had an edge in tactics and sheer determination. The gunfire was deafening, but Jack focused, blocking out everything except the task at hand. They pushed through the first line of defense and into the heart of the complex. The walls hummed with energy, and the air was thick with the scent of something metallic and unfamiliar. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The enemy forces were relentless, but the team fought back harder. Every man and woman determined to reclaim their home. Jack's pulse quickened. As they approached the main control room, the final hurdle, he could see the entrance protected by a large alien door, a heavy energy shield blocking their path. He could almost hear the aliens' footsteps rushing to prepare for their arrival. Jack and Elias moved forward, scanning the area for any signs of a trap. "There's no turning back now," Jack said, his voice low but filled with resolve. He turned to Sarah. "We need to bring down the shield. Can you override it?" "Already working on it," she replied, tapping away at her console. The door's energy shield flickered, then surged with power. Sarah cursed under her breath as the system fought back, but she was relentless, pushing harder. Moments later, the shield dropped, and the door began to open. Jack motioned to his team, "Ready up, it's now or never." They charged through the opening, bursting into the control room. The alien command center was unlike anything they had seen before. Its walls, lined with alien technology, pulsating with bright neon blue energy. At the center of the room stood a massive console, surrounded by towering alien figures. They looked down at the humans, their glowing eyes narrowing with contempt. "You've made a mistake." One of the aliens spoke, its voice deep and menacing. "This world does not belong to you. It never will." The battle erupted again, faster and fiercer than before. The alien leaders, towering in their advanced armor, charged at the humans with blinding speed. Jack's mind raced as he fired his weapon at one of the aliens, but his shots had little effect on their heavily armored bodies. "Kara, focus on the control panel," Jack shouted over the chaos. "We can't win by fighting them directly. We need to take out their command systems." Kara nodded, her focus unwavering. As she moved toward the panel, Jack and the others laid down covering fire, doing everything they could to hold off the alien soldiers. Jack's chest tightened as the battle wore on, the weight of his mission heavier with every passing second. The aliens were tough, but Jack knew that humanity's will to survive was stronger. If they could just reach the control panel, if they could shut down the alien defenses, they could win this war. The fate of Earth was in their hands. The heart of the enemy. The room shook as the alien forces closed in. Jack's pulse raced, but he didn't allow himself to falter. His hands were steady on the trigger, his mind focused on the task at hand. He fired again, watching as an alien soldier fell to the ground, the sound of the blast echoing through the chamber. His team was holding their ground, but they were starting to tire. The alien forces relentless in their assault. "Kara, how's it going?" Jack shouted over the roar of battle. He knew they couldn't keep this up forever. The sooner they disabled the command center, the sooner they could end this. "I'm almost there." Kara's voice came back, filled with determination. "I've cracked their encryption. Just give me a few more seconds to access their core systems." Jack nodded, but the seconds felt like hours. He could hear the alien soldiers regrouping, their weapons charging. The pressure was building, and Jack knew they couldn't afford another delay. He motioned for Sarah and Elias to move forward, taking up defensive positions as he and Kara covered the remaining alien soldiers. The Valor's mission was still a long way from over, but right now their survival depended on what happened in the next few moments. "I'm in," Kara finally yelled. The control panel sparked to life, and Jack saw her fingers fly across the keyboard with lightning speed. "I'm sending a virus into their systems. It'll disrupt their energy grid and bring their shields down. But it's going to take a minute for it to take effect." Jack cursed under his breath. A minute was a luxury they didn't have. "We need to move faster," Jack said, turning to Elias. "I'll cover you while you make a run for the backup generators. We need to turn off their power before their reinforcements arrive." Elias gave a sharp nod, his face grim. He sprinted across the room, his blaster firing as he moved. Jack followed closely behind, watching as the alien soldiers regrouped, their numbers growing with each passing second. The tension was unbearable as the humans pushed toward the central power grid. Jack's mind was sharp, but every step felt heavier. The sound of alien footsteps echoed, and the walls felt like they were closing in on him. The enemy was everywhere. Then suddenly, the alien forces stopped. For a moment, everything was still. The energy in the room shifted, and Jack's heart skipped a beat. He had no idea why the aliens had stopped their advance, but he knew it wasn't a good sign. The aliens were preparing for something bigger, and in that instant, Jack realized this wasn't just about defeating the aliens, it was about making sure humanity could never be subjugated again. "We're running out of time," Sarah shouted from the back. She was keeping watch, but even she could sense the growing danger. "If we don't finish this now, we'll be trapped." Kara looked up from the console, her face pale. "It's done. The virus has taken effect. Their shields are down. But there's something else happening. The core is destabilizing. They're going to overload." Jack's mind raced. The alien ship was collapsing in on itself. If the core exploded, they'd all be caught in the blast. "We have to go now," Jack shouted, grabbing Kara's arm and pulling her toward the exit. Elias was already halfway to the power generators, working feverishly to activate the backup systems. The floor trembled beneath their feet. The alien structure groaning under the pressure of the virus they had unleashed. The alien soldiers had regrouped, charging forward with renewed desperation. Jack and the team fought their way through the chaos, their shots finding their marks as they moved. They couldn't afford to stop. Every second counted, but then a loud explosion rattled the walls. The air became thick with smoke, and the lights flickered. The alien core had detonated prematurely. The shockwave sent Jack flying backward, his vision spinning as he hit the ground hard. For a moment, everything was black. When Jack regained consciousness, the first thing he noticed was the eerie silence. The chaos had stopped. He could hear nothing but the ringing in his ears and his own breath as he slowly sat up. The room was in ruins, the ceiling cracked open, and debris scattered everywhere. The alien base was collapsing, the walls buckling under the stress of the explosion. "Jack," Ilias's voice called out. He was kneeling beside him, helping him to his feet. "Are you all right?" Jack shook his head, trying to clear the fog from his mind. "Yeah, I'm fine," he said, though he couldn't shake the pounding in his skull. The base was collapsing, but the mission had succeeded. The alien's core had been destroyed. The base's power was gone. But they had to get out now. "We need to move, now," Jack shouted, his voice urgent. The team gathered quickly, moving toward the exit. As they ran, they could feel the structure crumbling around them, the walls cracking and groaning under the pressure. The aliens had been defeated, but the price of victory was high. The very foundation of their stronghold was falling apart. And Jack knew that even with their victory, they weren't safe yet. They had to get out before the entire alien base collapsed on top of them. But there was something else. Something that nagged at the back of Jack's mind as they sprinted through the tunnels, explosions going off around them. The enemy had been defeated for now, but Jack knew this was only the beginning. The aliens might have lost this battle, but the war was far from over. Asterisk, a new threat, rising the escape from the collapsing alien base, was a blur of chaotic movement. Jack and his team sprinted through the crumbling hallways, the sounds of explosions and rumbling walls filling the air. They had barely made it out in time, just as the base's foundation cracked open, sending shockwaves through the tunnels. The Valar was waiting for them, hovering above, ready to carry them back to safety. "Get to the ship. Move, move, move." John's voice rang through the comms as the team neared the final exit. They could see the Valar's hull in the distance, but the path was blocked by falling debris. The entire structure was disintegrating. Every step seemed like it could be their last. "Jack, go. We'll hold them off," Sarah called from the rear, firing back at the few remaining alien soldiers pursuing them. No, Sarah, we go together, Jack shouted, turning to help. But Elias grabbed his arm. We don't have time, Jack. Go now, Elias yelled. We'll catch up. Reluctantly, Jack turned and pushed forward. His heart pounded in his chest, every muscle screaming for him to stop. But he couldn't. They had to make it out, or everything they had fought for would be lost. With the last of their strength, the team made it to the ship, and the hatch opened. One by one, they climbed aboard, exhausted and covered in the dust of the collapsed alien stronghold. Once inside, Jack collapsed into the nearest seat. Status report, he demanded, his voice shaky but full of urgency. Kara, John called out from the command center. We're losing power. Kara responded immediately. The Valar took some heavy damage during the attack, but we're still operational. We're going to need time to repair the shields before we head back into the fight. Jack looked out at the viewport, watching as the alien stronghold continued to crumble, pieces of it falling into the deep, dark abyss of space. They had won temporarily. The alien fleet had been thrown into disarray, their central command destroyed. But Jack knew that the invaders would regroup quickly. The war was far from over. They had barely scratched the surface of the true threat that Earth was facing. The ship's engines hummed to life, and they began their ascent into space. Jack couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief. They had done it. They had disabled the alien base, killed their command center, and disrupted their operations. But there was a nagging feeling in the back of his mind. This was just the beginning. The aliens would not give up so easily. There was a greater plan unfolding, and humanity's victory was only temporary. Captain, Sarah's voice came through the comms, cutting through his thoughts. We've received a transmission from the surviving alien fleet. Jack's heart skipped a beat. Put it through. The screen flickered to life, showing an image of a tall, imposing alien commander. His skin was dark and featureless, with only faint glowing patterns running across his body. His eyes glowed a bright, unsettling blue as he spoke, his voice cold and calculating. You have made a grave mistake, the alien commander said. The destruction of our base was a minor setback. You believe that you have won, but you have only awakened something far worse. Jack's blood ran cold. What do you mean? We are not the only ones in this war, the alien said, his tone turning sinister. You have destroyed the heart of our operations on Earth, but you have just stirred the hornet's nest. You have no idea what you have unleashed. The transmission cut off before Jack could respond. The room was eerily quiet. Jack's mind raced as he processed the alien commander's words. What could be worse than what they had already faced? Had they truly unleashed something worse by attacking the alien stronghold? Had they awakened an even greater threat? Get me Earth Command, Jack ordered. Now, the communications console flickered to life again, and soon Earth's Central Command appeared on the screen. The face of General Matthews, Earth's lead military strategist, appeared. He looked haggard, the toll of the long war evident on his face. Jack, Matthews said, his voice grim. I take it you've encountered the enemy firsthand. You could say that, Jack replied, his tone serious. The alien command center is destroyed, but something else is coming. We don't know what, but their last message was clear. We've awoken something worse. Matthews's face hardened. We've been getting similar reports from other colonies. The aliens are regrouping, but something is off. Their movements are erratic, almost as if they're preparing for something we can't predict. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. What are they preparing for? I wish I knew, Matthews said. But what we do know is that the aliens aren't acting like they did before. It's like they're on edge, like they're running out of time. Jack turned to his crew, his thoughts racing. What had they unleashed? What was the true threat they were facing? We're not out of the woods yet, Jack said, his voice determined. We've won a battle, but the war has only just begun. We need to prepare for what's coming. Asterisk the unseen enemy as the Valar cut through the silence of space. Jack's thoughts were far from calm. The battle had been won, but the alien's cryptic message echoed in his mind. You've awakened something worse. His fingers tapped nervously on the console, the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. What could be worse than the alien forces they had already faced? The team had gathered in the ship's briefing room. The walls were covered in holographic maps and battle data, the projections flickering as they discussed their next moves. Jack stood at the head of the table, his crew's eyes fixed on him. Jack, Sarah said, breaking the silence, I've been analyzing the transmission we intercepted. There's something we missed before. The alien commander didn't just talk about us awakening something worse. He referred to a final weapon. It sounds like they've been preparing for this moment. Jack's brow furrowed. A final weapon? What does that even mean? John, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward. It could be a biological weapon, a superweapon, or even an entire fleet. Whatever it is, it's likely tied to their desperate retreat. They're not just retreating, they're preparing for something bigger, something humanity isn't ready for. Kara crossed her arms, a cold look in her eyes. But what if it's not a weapon at all? What if they've been hiding something even worse than the fleet we just defeated? The air was thick with tension as the weight of the situation settled in. Earth had fought back, but the victory felt hollow. The aliens were regrouping, and it wasn't clear what they were planning. We need to find out what they're hiding, Jack said, his voice filled with a resolve he hadn't felt before. There's only one way we're going to stop them. We need to infiltrate their network, get inside their command structure, and uncover the truth. Sarah looked up from her terminal. I've already traced their last transmission. It's coming from a location on the outer rim of the galaxy. A desolate planet, barely worth the resources it's been hiding. Jack nodded. That's where we'll go. If this is what we think it is, we need to stop them before they're ready to launch whatever final weapon they have. The Valar moved swiftly through space, heading toward the desolate planet that had been flagged as the source of the alien transmission. The silence of space was deafening as the crew prepared for what was to come. The closer they got, the more Jack felt that familiar knot in his stomach, the feeling of anticipation mixed with fear. The fate of Earth and the rest of humanity now rested on what they found on this barren world as they neared the planet. The once pristine view of the stars was obscured by a dark, stormy cloud mass surrounding the planet. A strange energy field distorted the light, making the planet look like a shadow of its former self. There's something wrong here, Kara said, her voice tense as she monitored the scanners. We're picking up heavy electromagnetic interference. It's like the planet is cloaking itself. John stood beside her, glancing at the screen. Cloaking technology. They must have some kind of shield around it. We're going to have to break through if we want to get close. Not just that, Sarah added. There's something on the surface. Something large. Jack's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean by something large? Sarah zoomed in on the map, showing a massive structure hidden in the planets. Storm clouds. Whatever this is, it's built into the surface. It's not natural, and it's too big to be just an outpost. Jack's mind raced. Could this be the final weapon the aliens had been preparing? Was it their last line of defense, or something far more dangerous? "We're going in," Jack said, his voice firm. "Get us through the cloak. We need to investigate." As the Valar descended toward the stormy surface, the tension among the crew grew. The ship's systems struggled to maintain connection through the interference. Every movement of the ship felt like it could be their last. "We're almost there," Kara said, her fingers dancing over the console. "But whatever's down there is generating an immense amount of energy. It's like the whole planet is charged with it." Jack could feel his stomach tighten. This wasn't just a military base or an alien outpost. This was something far more dangerous. They were getting close to the heart of the aliens' plans, and it was becoming clear that they were not prepared for what they might uncover. With one final push, the Valar broke through the atmospheric clouds, and the massive alien structure came into view. The size of it was unimaginably an enormous fortress built into the planet's crust, surrounded by thousands of alien ships and strange energy fields. "This is it," Jack said, his voice steady but filled with a sense of foreboding. "We've found it." The ship descended toward the surface, the immense structure casting a shadow over the ground below. The ground shook with the force of their landing, and as Jack's team disembarked, they could feel the raw power of the planet beneath. "Their feet this place," Sarah said, her voice tinged with awe and fear. "It's a weapon." The team moved cautiously toward the entrance of the structure. Every step felt heavier than the last. They were about to step into the heart of the alien forces, into the very place that could change everything. But they couldn't turn back now. They had come too far. The final stand, the dark, eerie silence of the alien structure, pressed down on Jack and his team as they ventured deeper into the heart of the fortress. The air felt dense, charged with an unnatural energy that made every step feel heavier, as though the very walls were watching them. The flickering lights cast long shadows across the vast, sterile hallways, which seemed to stretch endlessly before them. Jack could feel the weight of history on his shoulders. They had come so far, through countless battles, countless losses, and now, here they were, the last line of defense against the alien invaders. This wasn't just a fight for Earth. This was a fight for humanity's place in the galaxy. The alien structure seemed to pulse with power, its walls vibrating as though alive. Each step brought them closer to the center, where the true weapon, the heart of the enemy's plan, awaited them. Jack felt an unshakable sense of dread, but he knew they couldn't stop now. The fate of everything humanity had built in the last few thousand years depended on what lay beyond these walls. "We're getting closer," Sarah said, her voice low but steady as she scanned the surroundings. "Whatever they're hiding in here, it's not just another weapon. It's something bigger." "I know," Jack replied, his hand gripping his weapon tightly. "This is it. The final confrontation. Whatever happens next, we need to be ready." As they approached the central chamber, a deep rumble reverberated through the structure. The walls seemed to shift, the air thickening with energy. A large door at the far end of the hall slowly began to open, revealing an enormous chamber. In the center, a massive energy core hovered, suspended in the air, surrounded by a force field. Jack's heart skipped a beat. It was more than just a weapon. It was a power source, a core that could control entire fleets, possibly entire planets. The light from the core filled the chamber, casting an almost hypnotic glow over everything. It was clear now. This was the aliens' true weapon, the culmination of their plans for Earth. But something was off. The core wasn't the only thing in the chamber. Around the edges of the room, strange alien devices lined the walls, massive machines that pulsed with the same energy as the core, their purpose still unknown. Jack's instincts screamed that this was more than a weapon. It was a tool for domination on a galactic scale. They're going to use this to destroy us all, Jack muttered, his voice filled with realization. They're using this weapon to enslave entire worlds. Just as he spoke, a booming voice filled the chamber. The alien commander, the one who had warned humanity about their awakening, appeared at the far end of the room. He stepped forward, his form tall and imposing, his alien armor glistening in the light. "You're too late, human," the commander said, his voice deep and cold, filled with disdain. "You think you've come to save your world, but you have no idea what you've unleashed. The final weapon has been activated. Your world is already lost." The alien commander stepped closer, his eyes glowing with malice. "The core will trigger a chain reaction, not just on Earth, but across every human-controlled colony. It will burn your race from the galaxy, and no one will be able to stop it." Jack clenched his fist, his grip tightening around his weapon. This was the moment he had been dreading. The alien fleet had been wiped out, but now it was clear that the true weapon had just begun its countdown. Humanity's survival was more fragile than ever. "No," Jack said, his voice strong, "we're not done yet." Without warning, he sprinted toward the energy core, aiming to disable it before the alien commander could finish his threat. The air around the core was thick with energy, but Jack could feel the faint pulse of the ship's systems underneath. He knew he had to act fast. His team followed closely behind, laying down suppressing fire to keep the alien forces at bay. Jack reached the central console, his fingers flying across the controls. The glowing lights from the core pulsed rapidly as he hacked into the system. Sweat dripped from his brow as he fought to break through the alien encryption. The room hummed with energy, and every second felt like an eternity. "Jack, hurry!" Kara shouted from behind him, her voice urgent. The alien forces had begun to regroup, and the countdown to the core's activation had already started. With one final push, Jack broke through the system's security. He deactivated the core's main energy flow, and the room seemed to pause. The lights flickered, and the humming of the core grew softer, then silent. But the battle was far from over. The alien commander let out an angry roar, charging toward Jack. The air crackled with energy as he raised his weapon. But Jack was faster. With a quick motion, he activated the emergency defenses on the Valar, sending a pulse of energy that stunned the commander. "You'll never control Earth again," Jack said through gritted teeth. The commander staggered back, weakened by the pulse, but his eyes never left Jack. "You think you've won. This is only a small part of our plan. Earth was just the beginning." Before Jack could react, the alien commander crumbled, falling to the ground as the energy core fully powered down, the hum of its power dissipating. "We've done it," Sarah said, her voice filled with disbelief. "We've stopped them." Jack stared at the now lifeless alien commander, but a cold shiver ran down his spine. There was still more to the story than they knew. The aliens weren't. Just after Earth, they had been planning a galactic war, and this weapon was only a small part of it.